Listen to the juniors. Oof. Painful. Are there any other CR people in here besides Hannah? I just had a junior tell me that we should absolutely not do CR. It's a total waste of time. Like proud of it. Good times. Okay. And actually, he's a good cadet, so I found it very entertaining. Okay. Quickly before we jump in, here's what's due this week, Monday. Okay. This is a worldview statement. Okay. And I want to talk about it quickly, just see if you guys have any questions. All right. You're going to give me a comprehensive conception or image of the university and of humanity's relation to it. Right? Okay. 3 to 7 pages, double space, use Times New Roman. I don't care if you use Google Docs or Pages, just don't submit it that way. Okay. Canvas does not love those, and sometimes you guys forget to give me approval if you use Google Docs and all that good stuff. So just convert it to a PDF or something like that. Okay. If you submit that way. You need to answer each of these 5 questions. Okay? 3 to 7 pages is not very much, right, to be honest. And you're writing about you and your own thoughts. Okay? It's not terribly difficult. However, for the love of all that is holy, proofread what you write. Proofread what you write.
What is proofread?
Exactly right. Have you ever read undergraduate papers? They are terrible. They're so painful and so bad, and I don't understand why. Okay, if you can write, you can think. Right? It is one of the most useful. It is probably the most useful tool we have. Right? What is an idiom?
Is it those kind of like short sentences that
Well, maybe.
has more meaning than
From Vietnam, right? Does anybody in Vietnam say it's raining cats and dogs? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
That's an idiom, okay? I knocked it out of the park. That's an, please, God, stop it. Okay? At the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. Why would you have to say that?
Because it sounds fun.
So terrible, okay? Avoid cliches and speak plainly. Just say the words, okay? Speak plainly, and please, for the love of God, proofread what you write, okay? The reason I think you guys speak that way is because you're terrified to say something that matters, all right? And when I read undergraduate papers, and I teach comm classes, that stuff at SAMU's, okay? It's a lot of, one, you don't like citing, okay, because you don't want to have to cite. Fair enough, okay? Which is terrible. If you cite, it writes the paper for you. I don't know why you don't do more of it, okay? But you'll just say a bunch of idioms and cliches and things that don't matter. And then once in a while, there'll be an original thought that is awesome and great. I'll be like, holy shit, that's profound. And then you shrink back to saying stupid words. Okay, speak up, speak plainly. Aristotle, please phone away, please. Okay, questions about the assignment? Sure, we're good?
Let's do Monday.
Yeah. Is that what we normally do? Today's Tuesday, they all run together.
Discussion is
No, this is your assignment for the week. Please give me effort. Okay, I care. I read these. We're going to talk about them. Please give me effort. All right. Hopefully, this is kind of therapeutic. That's the point. All right. It's not just an assignment for the sake of an assignment. This is something that I hope is beneficial and helpful. Okay. Questions? Yes, sir.
What's kind of going to be the timeline on the rest of the stuff to get the leadership certificate?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Okay. We'll be fine to cover that next week. I will cover that next week. Okay. Parents' Weekend is when the certificate ceremony is, which is coming right up. So I realize it's ahead. Okay. We're going to take it back if you don't finish. I think you actually get a placement. Okay. I can't remember. I will find out. But I think it's like if you walk when you graduate, but maybe you still have a class left. Okay, you can still walk, but that you don't get your actual degree yet. Okay, I think that's how we do it, because we kind of hate to do it after everything is over, right? And we like to do it in front of your parents. I know your schedules are crazy during family weekend, but please make the effort to be there. I will be there. Okay, and I'll be happy to shake your hand and congratulate you. Okay? But yeah, we basically The interview thing is all we have left to do outside of 482, outside of class. Okay. Remind me and I'll cover that next week for sure. Okay. Other questions? Sure? We came late. Okay, what have you learned so far in this class? You already knew it, it depends. What'd you say?
I said talking.
You learned talking in this class? I mean, you speak 2 languages, right? I'll give you some credit. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's just that we talk a lot, and normally I would say that I'm an introvert person who doesn't share my thoughts a lot. I feel very comfortable just talking it out and discussing with other people in this class.
Okay, that's a good thing. I will take it. What else?
There's not always a clear right answer.
Good, I'll take it. What else?
You need to be okay with the decisions you make.
Good, yep, take it.
Learning to accept like other people's decisions and opinions on something that has like the 2 right answers, even 2 wrong answers.
Okay, good. Lenny?
Kind of going off that, even if you don't agree with someone, it's valuable to see from their perspective and why they believe something.
Good, good. Good. What else?
Just because you're analyzing something doesn't mean you're acting.
Good. Excellent. Great takeaway. What else? Yes, ma'am.
Surround yourself with people with varying opinions and perspectives so you don't kind of fall into an own bias.
Good. Okay. What else?
A lot of things that seem kind of mundane can end up having really huge consequences, like
Yeah.
the whole plane crash.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Take it. What else? Good. This is better than most any other SOMS course. Most of you just stare at me blankly. Pretty good. What else? Garrett?
You're never going to have all the information for your decisions, so just try and make the best one for you.
Bingo. Yeah. Good. Okay. Something we talked about. You and I talked about last week. It took me all semester. I got through to Garrett. We'll come back. Yes, sir.
It's easy for us, like from the outside of a situation, to see like a black and white thing, but once we're in the trenches, it becomes more gray a lot of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chase?
Kind of going off what Garrett said, I think it's important to like learn about yourself and like know where you stand at certain points, and then evaluate those decisions you make.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Is this how any of your other classes operate?
No.
What do you have to do as an undergrad?
Writing.
Math, writing, but what about tests? We just regurgitate, right?
Memorization.
We memorize and we regurgitate. What happens if you take that same test like 3 weeks later?
You don't know anything.
How many of you have been sitting in class and you're like, didn't we learn this last semester? It's because we have to do that to you because you stop learning or you don't remember. Okay. Would you rather learn how we operate in this class, or would you rather have tests and papers?
What is that?
Okay. Give me some time. I'm trying to fix it. But most of you won't do it if there's not a requirement. If there's not a test, if there's not a paper, if there's not an assignment, you wouldn't do it for the most part. Okay, that's the problem with undergrad education. I'm trying to fix it.
What do you, we wouldn't do what if there was one?
If you didn't have to read for the assignment, would you read?
Unless it was a very compelling.
How would you know? You don't even crack it.
Well,
How many of you have taken a class and never bought the book?
Oh, a textbook?
Because some of them times they're rip-offs too, though.
I get it. I understand. Yes, they are.
You can
Okay.
get them for free online.
Yeah, and that's great. Same thing. But at least you found the book. I don't care. I don't care if you find it for free.
But a textbook's very different than like what you gave us.
Why?
Because what you
It
gave
still
us
has information.
some real life applicability.
Just true. So the stuff in your major that's in a textbook is not real life application?
I'm not getting anything more out of the textbook than I do in lecture.
That's true.
To the structure of the class, yeah, maybe so. I can't speak to that. But why is the lecture the same as the book?
Because they teach straight from the book.
Because you won't read it. I had a discussion post. If you remember 381, it talked about social. What was the social proof? okay, which is like if I'm driving in a car, right, and I'm speeding, but somebody's ahead of me, it's okay, right? Like the cop will get that person first, right? Like, so I'm good. So you'll justify it, whatever it is. Okay, cheating, whatever, bagging in, whatever, you'll justify it, right? And instead of social proof, he wrote social media. He wrote, which was what was in the book, was social proof. He's like, I don't use social media to justify. I was like, you didn't read anything. Okay. He falls asleep a lot in class. I think COVID messed everybody up. It genuinely messed effort up. Okay. Free reign today. We're all over, and that's kind of on purpose. You're about to. Who's graduating this semester? Oh shit! God, that's terrifying, isn't it? Right? Who's got one more semester? One more football season, right? National championship. It's leaving too soon, man. Okay. Who's got one more year? Okay, fair enough. You'll be around. And then, who's thinking about grad school? You okay? Still deciding. Okay. You're screwed. You're out of here. What the hell are you gonna do? Make some money. Good. I hope so. Okay. Fair enough. All right. This becomes usually a very interesting time in SOMS. I hope you guys have actually got things out of it, which you talked about, and you brought up good things that we've learned. I hope that's useful. What do you want to know? What are we worried about? What are we concerned about? What have we not covered? What do we not feel good about yet? We're going in the real world. It's a coming eventually. You got your boots, man. You wear them for 9 months and then never again. Connor.
This can provide anything?
Yes, anything. Yep, anything.
Okay. As a new adult,
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend living at like a crappy apartment, saving a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
or like we live in a hole for 4 years, let's splurge a little bit and spend a little bit more?
Do you have a job?
Yeah.
It depends.
That's all I'm saying. So should I get?
If you have debt, get out of debt as soon as you can. As soon as you can possibly pay off your debt. You will be ahead of most every American if you can do that. I mentioned there's a book I told Gareth about. It's called Good for the Money. It's a good read. The guy's funny and interesting, all this stuff. And I think if you've had me before, I probably mentioned it, but he has what he calls FU money. If you have money saved up to where you can quit your job whenever you want, you are better off than probably 95% of Americans. I would tell you, you're used to living in a hole. A lot of you don't know how to cook. You got some learning to do. Okay, you're gonna revert to bad habits. You've developed some good ones. Getting up, working out, those are good things for you. And a lot of you are looking forward to not doing that anymore, and that's okay, right? Don't buy 700 Oreos and sit in your room and play video games all day and lose everything that you've earned. Okay, if you want to taper or change it, by all means. If you got a good job and you're out of debt and you want to live in a nicer place, great. But
So basically,
it doesn't matter where you live or what kind of car you drive.
Yeah.
It really
Basically,
doesn't.
Would you recommend trying to like start?
I'd live cheap.
Start living or start going like?
No, you're used to living this way. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't overextend. Live within means. Okay. Now your means are hopefully going to improve drastically, but live within those means, because then you can do what you want. If you're like, I live cheap or whatever, then you can take the vacation to Mexico, right, for a weekend, because you save money and you live cheaply. I would tell you to do that early, right? Because you're probably going to work a lot. You're probably not going to be home that much. It doesn't matter. If you're always going to be home or you're going to work from home and you want a nice, comfortable place, then consider that. But if you have debt, get out of debt as soon as you can. What else? Yes, ma'am. Sir. I thought it was Taylor's arm. Sorry.
What are some tips for starting like a new job with like I'm in to be a part of like an 18-person team?
Okay.
Aspect for financial planning with Vanguard. So do you have any tips with like working in that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna treat it like the core like.
So we're all about to be the FNG, right? The fun new guy doesn't stand for fun. Okay. You're gonna be the FNG at your company. You're gonna be new. You're gonna be young, right? And there's gonna be people that that think, and it may be right, that you don't know shit. Okay? That's okay. But if you're right, or if you have a hunch, don't be afraid to speak up. I think, I can't remember if I told the story in here, but I've told it in other SOMS classes. A friend of mine was where are my engineers? Okay, he was interning as an engineer, and they were building a new road. It's a multi-million-dollar project, and he's an intern, and he does the math. And they were building a new road to make it safer, straighter, less curves, the slant, all that shit, okay? And he says, by the way, you guys are building this wrong. And he tells his boss, he's like, hey, you know you're making, whatever it was, the slope, any civil? Nobody's civil. You're making the slope of the road wrong. And tells his boss, he's an intern, he's a junior in college. And his boss is like, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a dumb intern. Okay, you're only a junior, you don't know shit. And he's like, well, it's math. It's literally, it's a black and white answer, okay? So he goes to his boss's boss and tells him, and the boss's boss is like, holy shit, you are 100% correct. He's like, did you tell anybody? He's like, yeah, I told my boss. He's like, I'll deal with him, okay? Had he not said anything, no one would have caught it. So, when you're right, or you have a hunch you might be right, speak up. Some of you are fine with it, okay? Some of you are going to speak up whether you're right or wrong. That's fine, okay? And just deal with the consequences. Some of you are going to tell you, hey man, shut the hell up. Okay, I learned a lesson. I will shut the hell up, right? And then later you'll be right and be like, hey, remember I said that thing? Be careful. Be careful with the battles you pick. But don't be afraid to speak. You guys just got all the newest and latest education, I hope. Right? You just got a bunch of awesome new stuff. Hopefully you learned some things. Right? Don't be afraid to speak up. What else? Yes, sir.
I'll be moving to Little Rock this summer.
Mhm.
I'll be there for 7 months.
Okay.
And I know nobody
Mhm.
in Little Rock. I'll be working with like 30 to 50-year-old dudes.
Yep.
I don't particularly want to hang out with 30 to 50-year-old dudes. It's a good
Why not?
idea. What?
Same career field, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we worried about? Hanging out with old dudes?
Yeah, I kind of want to like explore with people my
Okay.
age.
Who's taking a job? You're going elsewhere. Who's going elsewhere in the world? Like leaving tech? Okay. Fair enough. You're a pretty outgoing dude. You're probably more comfortable with this. You might look at like signing up for a kickball league, even though you don't know anybody. Like find things online where you can go out that are social and meet people. It's like a book club. Okay, it doesn't have to be a book club. But when you're new to a community, find ways to go out and interact with people. And interact with the people you work with. You're going to learn a lot. They've been working in that career field for 10, 20, 30 years. Hang out with them a little bit. Okay? Be careful. Right? Go out and have drinks. Be careful. By all means, go out and have drinks. Please be careful. Okay? Because you're being judged if you get too hammered. If you're hungover, not a good start. Okay? But go out and be social. Put yourself out there. Yeah. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. You'll learn a little bit. And go see the Arkansas. It's not my favorite state. There's beautiful places there. Go check them out.
Stay away from the people.
Arkansas fans, not my favorite. What else? Did I answer your question? You good? What else? Yes, sir.
What general graduate school advice do you have?
Graduate school. Okay, undergrad is memorize and regurgitate. Graduate school is throw you into the deep end of the pool and figure it out. It's not the accountability. It's go figure your shit out. You're on your own. So you've wanted that for a long time. We complain, right? I'm an adult. You have to act like one now, right? It's much more of like, here you go. Here's all the books, and here's what you have to know and learn. Go do it. I would almost look at it. This may come from like a farmer ranch background. Okay, it's like getting paid once a year. You have to have the discipline to manage it, but it also tends to be much more fun and engaging that way. In my experience, I liked it a lot. What else? What do we got?
How do you manage getting like apathetic?
So settling in, getting lazy, worried about the routine. Yeah, comfortable. Every organization in the world will gravitate towards mediocrity unless you actively work against it. No different than you. This is SOMS, right? We get to work on us, right? It's not just, making you construction management or engineering. It's you as a person. I hate to tell you this, you don't stop working on yourself, your personal development. So pick what you enjoy. If you like PT, then stick with it. If you like reading, podcasts, whatever, but keep working on you, okay? And sometimes it may be the next job, right? I'm chasing the next thing, whatever it is, but keep working on you, right? It's okay to have The Rock, the actor, The Rock, not Chris Rock. You know what they found on Chris Rock? You know what they found on Chris Rock's face the next morning? Fresh Prince. Come on, that's gold. Dad joke gold, okay? The Rock, he was not a good football player in college, right? But he wanted to get bigger and started getting acting and WWE and all that stuff. He takes one cheat day a week, right? So 6 days a week he works out because his body is what makes him money, okay? But that cheat day, man, that's all him. So if you're working really hard, take the time. Don't be lazy. Like don't settle into the lazy routine. But take a day, whatever you need. Take some time for yourself. But don't stop working on you. What else? Brandon.
Tips for the timeline of making goals post grad, because it's really easy at school to be like, oh, I have 16 weeks to
Correct.
accomplish all these goals.
Yeah.
How do you, I guess?
Yeah, so in the work world, it's not always very clear, right? Like what's next or where's the next goal. And that's the younger generations want short-term goals. Most of you don't get hired by a company and think, I'm going to work here for 25 years. You're just taking it for now and you want the next thing. Make some goals, right? So clearly define your own goals. I want to be, a CFO or CEO. You got to make the goals for what you want in your career. I want to have a family. I want to be making X amount of dollars, whatever it is. So write down those goals or set those goals and then figure out how to chase them. Figure out how you're going to get there, right? But now it's on you, right? Because there's no more timeline necessarily. Some companies will help you with that. The good companies will sit down with you, because this is again, a generational thing. They'll sit down and say, if you're here in 6 months, we'll pay you X amount. If you're here in a year, you move up in title and pay. If you're here in 18, they know that you guys are goal oriented. So a good company will hopefully help you with that. And if not, ask. If you go to work and you're like, hey, I'm just going through the motions, I don't know what's next, I don't know how I get promoted, ask. Ask the question. Hey, where can I be if I work really hard in 6 or 12 months? Ask that question, right? And then figure out how to get there. Does that help? Yeah. What else? Who does not know how to cook? You gotta learn one dish. I don't care if it's spaghetti. Okay, you gotta have one dish you're good at, especially if you're single. You need one good thing that you can make, and then be like, oh yeah, I'm a really good cook. Okay. Second date, maybe go out to eat. Okay. You can bake? You're fine. Okay, you can bake. What else? What are we worried about? Zach.
How do you find a good place to rent and live? How do you appraise that?
Okay, fair question. Who's going towards the cities? We're headed to Houston or Dallas or San Antonio. Okay. Gas price factors in, right? Transportation, where you're living, safety, all that good stuff. Do the homework, right? Do the homework online. You can usually find reviews. If you're going to rent a place, when you pull up, they're going to look at your car and in your car. If your car is trashed inside, you might have a higher deposit, or they won't rent to you. They're judging you, right? So just do your homework. Online makes life pretty easy. But if you're worried about a place, you can even ask an apartment manager or whatever. Be like, hey, can I ask another tenant, about this place or what they like about it, and see how receptive they are to that. If they're like, no, then you may not want to live there. Okay. But do your homework and then factor in what you're looking for. It helps to have goals, right? All I want is a roof over my head, and I hope to have a pool. Okay, if you got minimal standards, then that's fine. If you have I want to live exactly here because it's close or whatever, I may have to pay more for that. So just factor in what you want. It's like going to buy a car, right? Back in the day, Colonel Alice and I were just talking about this. Told me his dad bought a car because it had cup holders. There were 7 members in the family, and it was a 2-door car, right? But that was the cool thing. Now it's like the self-driving, right? If you can get on a highway and push a button, you're like, I want that car. Okay? If you don't care about anything else, you might buy a piece of crap, but it drives itself. Okay? What else? Chase.
How did you, like, I have an extra semester, not thinking about working.
Yeah.
How did you balance school and work?
I always had to do that. You're not going to be in the Corps anymore, right? Lots of free time, in all honesty, and take advantage of it. Man, if you can study it all where you're working, that's great. Read books. What's your BIMS or what's your, okay. Man, pick up a finance book and read it. Okay, you've got other things to learn from your really hard major. If you don't know anything about, money, then learn about money. Eventually you're going to have it, right? Now for a while you got to pay for dental school, right? But eventually you're going to have money, so learn what to do with it, right? And enjoy it, man. You guys are almost done. Enjoy this shit. If you got an extra semester a year, enjoy it. How quickly the last 4 years go by? Blink of an eye, right? So if you got one more year, don't sweat it. It'll go by quickly, but enjoy it as much as you can. Real world sucks. You're going to make money, great. It sucks. Just stay here as long as you can. Never leave. Some of you don't believe me. Wait. 5 years. Oh my God, Corps is the best thing ever. I just want to go back. Wish I could eat at Dunkin'. You don't believe me.
I would never say that.
You can't cook, right?
I can cook.
Okay, good. I was just...
Fish got E. coli in it too.
Okay. That way, you look at things in the past through rose-colored glasses, right? Remember fish year? How much it sucked when you were going through it? You're like, oh, fish year was great. Yeah, once it's over. Okay. What else? What else we got? Hayden? Worry about anything? Curious?
I'm going into like a field where there's like a ton of people from other countries or
Okay.
who haven't been in the U.S. and just tons of different backgrounds and just like learning how to communicate with them and especially like being like the idiot of the group whenever I'm going into it and just how to get over that.
Okay, that's a great question, man. I've been to other countries. Okay, I've been to countries where I couldn't speak the language. You can still communicate. To some, like you can read body language, right? They can read yours. If you go to another country, not this way yet. If you go to another country, learn how to say I'm sorry and excuse me. If nothing else, just learn those 2 words. Okay, so that if you bump, I'll get back to this. But I was in Paris on the trip, first time I've been in France, and somebody bumped into me and they were like, "Excusez-moi," and I was like, "Oh, they really say that." Right? Which is so stupid, but it was like messed up my head. And then I get to Germany and I sneeze, and they were like, "Gesundheit." And I was like, "Oh, that's a thing I know." Okay. So look, everyone's the same. People are all the same. They're go out drinking. Again, be careful. But just learn, man. You'll be fine, and be yourself. Be yourself. Okay? Be comfortable with who you are. You'll be fine. What else? That's a good question. You know what they say in Spain when you sneeze? Jesus. So when I came back, people would sneeze, I'd be like, Jesus. That's great. Made a lot of sense. What else? Yes, sir.
What were some of your biggest struggles?
Knowing when not to pick the fight. Knowing that when you are the FNG and you're the new guy, even if you're right, the boss disagrees, and you can't always win that battle. Younger me would pick fights I shouldn't have picked, and I believed I was right, ethically, morally, whatever it was. I believed I was right, but I was a subordinate, and I couldn't win that battle, and I shouldn't have picked it. Right? That was the hard thing to learn. Right? Good question. What else? Angel?
So I'm moving to St. Louis in May.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like looking for apartments and whatnot.
Okay.
Do you think it's, so I know someone who lives in St. Louis. Do you
Good.
think it's smart
a great question. Sometimes you can both be on the lease to build credit. Sometimes you can't. Okay. If you feel like you need to build credit and you're going to be good, take care of it, pay the bills, weigh that factor in and go ahead and do it. If you worried that if you live by yourself, you won't get out, you won't interact with people, then consider the roommate. Because you guys have lived in the core, I think you've learned how to live with people you may not necessarily like, right, or get along with that well. So sometimes you got to deal with that too. Is this person, whether they go to A&M or in the core?
They used to be at A&M.
Okay, so you got some common ground, right? Were they in the core?
No, sir.
Okay, so different living style, right? If you're super anal retentive and everything's organized and clean, and they're not, just be aware that may cause problems. Okay. So you can't go wrong either way, but weigh out what you want. What do you feel is more beneficial to you? Good question. Don't become a Cardinals fan. Hate the Cardinals. What else? There's some good barbecue there.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. I prefer Texas style, but there's some good barbecue. What else? Lenny.
With the benefit of hindsight, like what's something in your job or personal life you would have done differently?
Oh, great question. Man. I'm not one that has a lot of regrets, but I think probably back to Frederick's question is kind of how I dealt with certain things and carried myself. I think I told you guys, but I worked for a boss who labeled me as arrogant. It really, really bothered me because I'm very confident, but I don't ever want to be arrogant. I don't like arrogance. I needed to adjust more sooner to that. So that's why we work on all this stuff, right? Why we try to figure out who we are and how we come across and the kind of person we are. Because all of us have our own shit. Everybody's got problems. Nobody's perfect. But sometimes we don't see our own flaws. I think financially, don't feel like you have to build up credit. Like, don't go out and get a bunch of credit cards if you don't have any credit. One or two things is fine. But financially, if you can be financially independent and free, again, you are better off than most everybody else in this country. So put your money away. Learn how to manage it. Learn how to invest. If you don't know how to invest, learn. Just start small. Get some help, whatever, but just learn how to manage your money. What else? Good question.
Is there anything when you came out of college, adulting-wise, that really surprised you? That was like, wow, I have no clue how to do this.
One that's dumb but common is the roommate thing. I had a roommate, so there were three of us that lived in the house right out of school, and one dude was gone like Monday through Thursday, so his work took him out. And the other dude, right, super good looking, total moron, okay? Good looking dude, right? His parents had picked up after him his entire life. So in the morning when he went to work, he would make toast and jelly on the counter. Yeah, it was infuriating, right? He just left the mess there for someone else to clean up every day. And I wanted to murder him, okay? So learning how to deal with that was a little tough. It shouldn't have been, I should have just gone and be like, dude, pick up your shit. And he would have told me no or whatever. Because even when I tried, it never really didn't. We would both just complain to the roommate who was gone. He'd come home and be like, God damn, all I get is bitching from you guys whenever I come home. So it's the simple things like that. We're just living with somebody that's different, and how to manage it. That's why I say you got to weigh it out. Right? If you're a very particular person, it's hard to live with people who are opposite than you. Anything else that caught me off guard? I would say benefits. Okay, if you get job benefits, that's a big deal. That's a great thing. Understand them. Just learn a little bit about them. You're going to have to figure out how to go to the doctor on your own and stuff like that. So just know what benefits you have. Okay, that's what HR people are there for. Ask questions. But yeah, when you're young and single, it's inexpensive and not much of a big deal because you don't get sick very often or whatever. But consider your retirements and your health benefits and all that stuff. Okay.
When it comes to benefits, is it worth asking for a lower salary for equity in the company, or?
You can, yeah. You can ask that question. Be careful what you give up.
Smaller companies, most likely. But.
Right, so be careful what you give up. So if they're negotiating salary, you know, and they offer you 75 and you say, well, I'll be honest, I'll take 70 if you give me some stock options, then yeah, you can have that conversation. Just be careful what you give up because it can be harder to get it back. I had a friend of mine, good dude, good worker, good work ethic, introvert, super quiet. He was not getting the raises that his peers were at the company. And when he finally found out how much less he was making than his peers, he was very upset and decided to leave. And he asked them why. Well, it was they were like, we're not going to wake a sleeping dog. You didn't bring it up. You didn't ask for more. They're never going to give you more than they have to. Right? And so he learned that lesson the hard way. It paid off. He actually chose to leave, which he's quiet. He doesn't like change. He doesn't like to interview. He took another job in another city, in another state, and then they hired him back in like 2 years. Same company. Right? So it can pay off. Who's from Texas? Who does not want to leave here? You don't have a choice, bro. You're out of here. Go see the world. Okay? Yes. It's not going anywhere. Texas will still be here. It's okay. Believe it or not, there are beautiful parts of this country. Like, actually, okay, hill country's great. I get it. It's nice. There's nice places in Texas. There are stunningly beautiful places in this country that are very much not in Texas. Okay. Don't be afraid to leave. You can come back. I promise you. Yes, sir.
How do you adapt from living with a bunch of guys for 4 years to being married?
You're screwed. You're all screwed. Who wants to have a family? Okay, good. I hope so. It takes practice. To be honest, when you first get married, it's not that hard because you're still very independent. It's just the two of you, right? You got your career, they got their career, whatever, everything's cool. Okay? Then you have children. Then the hospital knows that you have them. You have to feed them. Okay? They're always around. They break all your things. Okay? Once you start having kids, it's very much about caring for someone else. That's when it gets harder. Bless you. My wife's first kid was my current wife. That's how I introduce her. Okay, my current wife. This guy told us that, and they've been married like 50 years. And she's like, he's been making that joke for 40 years, and I was like, I want to do that. That's outstanding. Okay. So when we had our first kid, it was an emergency C-section. All right. So she was in a lot of pain. She had a lot of depression and regret and anxiety that it didn't go the way she planned. So she felt terrible physically and mentally. I then was taking care of 2 other people immediately. Okay, so not only do we have a kiddo, but my wife is not doing well. Okay, that's really hard because it's not about me anymore. As I like helping other people, but all of a sudden I'm 27 or 28 or whatever it was at the time, and I have to care for 2 other people. That's a big shift, right? So be a team. Okay, you can be very different. I think I've told you guys. My wife and I are very, very different people, and that's okay. The other factor is the in-laws. Okay? Be aware. Okay, they bring their own parent. When it gets really bad, when you start having kids, it's Christmas. Okay, if everyone lives in Texas and you and your spouse are in Texas, we'll drive to both houses for Christmas. They're only 4 hours apart. Oh, that is horrible. Okay, then you have a kid and the new grandparents, one, they don't care about you anymore. Once you start having kids, you've done your job and they don't give a shit. Okay, and I'll give you guys the best advice I ever got here in a moment. I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, they only care about the kid and everything. So set some boundaries early. Okay. And you're going to have to make them come to you. You got the grandkids, you're coming to me. You have more money than me, you're coming to me. Okay, if you can set that up, you're doing well. When you and your spouse have a child, dudes in particular, listen up. You need to give a push-in present. Has anybody heard of a push-in present? Your wife just did all the work, okay? And she's tired and she feels like shit. And everybody only cares about the baby now. Look at this beautiful little thing that you made. No one cares about you and the dudes. We don't matter at all. Okay, our job's done a long time ago. when you have when your wife has a child, all the attention goes to the baby. Get your wife something nice. I was torn between jewelry and a new MacBook. I was really torn. She likes both. I went with the MacBook, and it paid off really well because then she could sit in bed and watch Netflix and stuff like that. Okay. Get your wife a present when you have a child, and it better be good. Don't get her a goddamn apron or something like that. Okay. Best advice I ever got. So there, passing it along. Okay. What else? Yes, sir.
How did you and your wife decide, like, it was time to have a kid when y'all did? Was it like financial thing, or you just kind of got done?
Very good question.
Wanting to
Okay.
vacation.
Yeah. What are we asking here, Mason?
I don't know.
Can't give you all the. Okay. Well, first, no. You have to love each other, and then, no. So.
I didn't ask how.
Right. Okay, there's very much two schools of thought. This is a good question, and this is where a lot of it. So some of you really want to, and this is fine. You can just be like, well, it's time to start a family, or I want to be financially set up for success and all this stuff. And you may be a little older. It's what you want to do. My wife always, she's like thinks nothing's ever going to work out or be good. So she's like, I'm never going to be able to get pregnant, and she got pregnant really quickly. Okay, both times. So she was concerned that there would be issues and that can happen, and you may never know, and it's really hard to deal with. But there's lots of things you can do. You can adopt and all these good things, right? So we just wanted to start a family, and it was not necessarily about the financial part. It was we wanted to be relatively young, and go ahead and get started. I have friends that waited. They wanted to be successful and have money and all that stuff. They're going to be older, right? And they're going to have kids in their house longer and all that good stuff. So it's what you want to weigh out, but it's definitely a group decision. You can't go wrong either way. Just to do what you think is right for you and your spouse. Good question. What else? What do you got, Mike?
I'm just laughing.
Are you looking up how?
No, I've been taking
Sorry, too easy. It's too easy. What else? Yes, sir.
What was your biggest purchase after graduating?
Buying my first, not my first, buying a nice new vehicle. And I didn't go over the top, but it was new to me. It's what I wanted, did all my homework and research, and made sure I could afford it. It's got to be affordable and all that good stuff. So, yeah. And know what you're getting into, so you don't buy the two-door when you got a family and you just wanted the cup holders. But no one gives a shit. There's a buddy of mine in the Air Force who's now a major. He was in the Corps here. He's mad that you have quad bucks. And he drives this old, crappy Corolla. He's got more money in the bank than probably anyone. Okay? It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. People think it does. No one cares. And if you have a bunch of money and you want to go buy the fancy car because you can, then go do that. But no one gives a shit. Doesn't matter. What matters is who you are. Be a good person. What else? A few more minutes. Come on, Lombardi, what do you got?
I mean, I'm just still stuck in the application phase for jobs.
Okay.
But I did talk to people like who were in my major and who have jobs, and they're like, with this major, the jobs don't really look for people until like April.
Okay.
But it's kind of freaking
That's
me out.
in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're worried about like getting hired and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of you, the economy, honestly, pretty good right now for the most part. You can find a job. May not be the job you want, and that's okay. But just be able to justify the change if you start making changes often. You know, if you took a job out of school and then a firm is like, well, why'd you go work there? And you're like, well, because I needed a job and I was willing to do it. Just be able to justify it. Yeah, it takes a lot of persistence to get hired, even when things are good, even if they like you. Just be persistent. What else? Yes, sir.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see from recruiters?
I think we talked about this. One of the weirdest things you guys do when you start getting up, who's got offers? Like who's trying to decide where to go? We have multiple? Oh, terrible students, okay. What's funny to me is that you guys turn to each other versus people who've been there. You're like, hey, God, should I take it? Bauer doesn't know. He's never been there, okay? You got to figure out. I recommend talking to people who've been there and done that. Don't be afraid to ask questions outside of your peer group, okay? You guys are all trying to do your own thing and go your own path. You guys are friends. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't really care where you go take a job. He's trying to get his job, okay? Now he does. You're friends, but he's trying to figure out his own shit. So that's a weird thing that you guys do. You'll go, but I wouldn't take that job. He doesn't know. What else? Did you say things you're not ready for or were unexpected?
Mistakes, common mistakes.
Common mistakes. I think the credit and the money thing is the biggest one. Yeah, just be careful, manage your money, put some away. Right? If you can, as quickly as you can, have at least 3 months that you can live off. If you got 3 months socked away that you can live, you're in good shape. That way, if you get laid off, if a company closes, or if shit hits the fan that's unexpected, you get unexpectedly fired or whatever, you got yourself a little window. The more of that you can have, the better life is. What else?
Whenever you're coming right out of college and going into your first kind of real job,
Mm-hmm.
how do you negotiate your salary well without like either being super off-putting or being a little like too wimpy about it? Like
You're not going to move it much. Okay, so whatever the offer is, you're not going to move it a whole. If they offer you 70 and you want 90, you're probably not going to get there. You might get to 75. Keep in mind, as I think I've mentioned, are you engineering? Okay, I was thinking you were amazed for some reason. It costs them about double what your salary is. So if they're offering you 75, the investment is really 150 for the most part, between all your benefits and everything. Smaller companies, it may vary a little bit. But whatever they're offering you pay is about half what they're investing in you, right? So just keep that in mind. I often, there's a couple ways you can go with negotiation. And if you look online in Colorado, if it's an online job, the state of Colorado now requires you to post the salary range. So if it's posted online, if it's like a remote position or whatever, you might be able to go see, there's Glassdoor is a website. Have an idea of what the range is, so you know if you're getting lowballed or not, okay? If you think the range is 70 to 75 and they offer you 50, now you can talk. Be like, I'll be honest, I thought the salary range was closer to 70. If we can do that, then I'm on board. If it's 50, then you have to decide the consequences that I may pass and look to go elsewhere, right? But usually the starting number is not going to change a lot unless you know that they are lowballing you. Does that help? Okay. Usually you can find some idea of the range. So look, entry level with a bachelor's, this is the job. You can find a range. Okay, so it's good to know that going in. I usually try to let them present the number first. Because then if it's high, you can be like, oh shit, I'm going to take this. And then if it's high, you can be like, oh, can I get 3,000 more? Nope. And you're like, okay, I'll take it. Okay. Good question. Oh, we're done? Done, right? 25? Okay. I hope that was useful. I find it kind of fun to give you guys free reign once in a while as we get close to the end. So thank you for indulging me, and I hope it was beneficial. Write your paper.